and welcome to a new episode of Coming Out with Liz and Eddie. I'm Liz Layu.
I'm Eddie Connor, and the title of this episode is the 7 and Under Emotional Belief Inventory. And whether you realize it or not, every belief you hold today as an adult originated between birth and 7 years old. What Liz and I are doing is helping you elevate that up into higher consciousness in a very relaxed and fun way.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
Did you know?
What did I know?
Did you?
I don't know. What is it? What did I know?
Did you know that the first 7 years of your life, you're literally living in the theta state of consciousness as a child?
Okay, so this brings the question, what is a theta state, Eddie?
The theta state is, think of an afternoon nap.
Yeah.
You're just a little tired. You take your afternoon nap. You're half awake and you're half asleep.
Yep.
And you're aware of what's going on around you, but you're able to sink into that deeper state of consciousness. That's the theta state. You're half in the dream world and you're half in the conscious state. So you're aware of all of the dimensions around you simultaneously.
Okay, so that's your super creative state, right?
Absolutely. It's the super learning state, Kelly Howell will call it. And you definitely dip into more of your intuition, sensitivity, creativity. A lot of the inventors back in the day, I don't remember which one it was, but there was one famous inventor that would get in his easy chair every single day at the exact same time. And he would put ball bearings. For you young people, I know you don't know what that is. It's like metal marbles, okay? And he would put ball bearing. Did you know what they were?
Yes, I did.
See, we're old school. Okay. We don't look old, but we is. Watch us get up and down. Plus, we'll snap, crackle, pop right crispy, right all over the place. But he would get in his easy chair every single day to purposefully achieve the theta state. And he would put the ball bearings in his hands, and he would put his arms on the chair like this and achieve that state of consciousness. And just as he was about to fall asleep, his hands would open and the ball bearings, the metal marbles, would fall into an aluminum pan.
Oh, interesting.
And wake him up. And then he would have another download about what he could invent next for humanity.
Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Okay, I want to go off script a little bit, and I just want to read you what it is that Mr. Google was when we were working on this. We can't call it
Mr. Google no more.
Okay, well, whatever. Well, I was doing research because I love to do that, and I'm just going to read a very simple statement about what the theta is. Theta state is a state of very deep relaxation. It's used in hypnosis and during REM sleep. Okay, so exactly what you said. And what they're saying is, there are pages of it, it says, this is the first stage of the phase when we dream. Mm-hmm. Okay. To understand the frequency in a simple and comprehensive way enough to think about how it feels and what it's like being on top of a mountain, totally absorbed by what's around you, and know that God is real. Just know that God is. At that moment, you are in theta. So.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And so it's expanded awareness.
Exactly.
Which the Bible calls heaven.
Yes.
And which it's when you break it down and you track the origin of the word heaven, the authentic definition of it is expanded consciousness.
Yes.
Which we're going to be talking about a little bit too. So it's like purposefully putting yourself in that space where you're almost cleaning the palette, clearing the canvas, and then you can absolutely program it deliberately if you want to, but most people don't. They just keep doing their own old programs that no longer serve them.
Oh, you're going to have to explain that one to me.
Okay, you want me to do it now?
Yeah, you go right ahead, do whatever you want.
So it's like we all have our own... So it's just like, explain it to me. We all have... See, I think that was her subconscious inner child, which you will find out from last week's show. Okay. It is. We all have our self-talk.
Yeah.
And your voice in your head is your voice of God. It is your higher self. It's your universal consciousness. And you you are programming yourself subliminally or deliberately by the repetitive thing you say over and over in your thoughts. Like, what's some of your habitual thoughts that you don't want to tell the audience about?
What are my habitual thoughts that I tell myself? Oh, God. I need to lose weight.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
To yourself?
Yeah.
I need to lose weight.
Yes.
That's how you say it to yourself?
Yeah.
I wish I did that.
I go, I need to lose weight. I dress up in the morning and I go, I need to lose weight.
And so now let's just play with the frequency. I need to lose weight. High frequency or low frequency?
Tired frequency.
Listen. And so tired, by the way, that's the fastest way to stop your money.
Yeah.
The fastest way to stop your monetary freedom from consistently coming to you is every time you say, I'm so exhausted. I'm so tired.
Exactly.
And I grew up here in this one. If you anywhere near the southeastern part of North America, you heard it too. I am sick and tired of being sick and tired all the time.
Oh, yeah, no, a teacher of mine from Brazil, she would say that.
Is she dead now?
Yeah, no, she's not, honey.
Okay, but it didn't catch her yet, did it?
Oh, no.
Okay. Oh.
Nope, she said not to do that.
So that is an example of an unconscious, repetitive program that you are downloading yourself with, and that the subconscious mind will say, yes, I love you unconditionally. Here's some more things to be sick about. Here's some more things to be tired about. And here's some more things to be sick about and tired about. All the time.
Well, because once you start telling yourself that, then you get more of it.
Yeah, I have this one. Ours are very similar, but I don't talk to myself lovingly and sweet.
What do you say?
It's not important what I say.
No, so what do you say?
I am a lot like my mama.
Uh-huh.
Like one time my mama she did something. We were sitting around, I don't know what we're doing. I think we're fixing Thanksgiving for... I say the boys, but all my brothers and their wives and their kids. And Mom did something. She dropped something on the floor. And my mom's a workhorse.
No, yeah.
And so she's like, she's getting all this stuff done like a sous chef or something. And then she dropped something on the floor, and then she goes, well, fuck. She's like, Ann, you stupid bitch. Then she reached down and picked it up.
Oh, she judged herself and damned herself.
Yeah, double judged, double damned. And so the other day I was doing something and I was like, Eddie, you stupid bitch.
Oh. Okay, so you curse yourself.
Yeah.
Basically.
Mm-hmm. Oh. I'm not loving and thoughtful and evolved like you are.
Oh, yeah.
I need to lose weight.
No.
I need a pampering. Oh, because that's how we roll in the hood over here. Okay. So it's about being conscious, purposefully, deliberately conscious of what your programs are. Now, why is it so important for what we're talking about in today's show? The very first thing is every belief we hold tightly to was created inside of us between our birth and our 7th birthday.
And then emotionally, we hold on to unconscious habits of thought that block our dreams.
Yes. We live between worlds the first 7 years of our lives, like we talked about with the Theta State. You live in a physical, 3-dimensional, conscious world, and then you can go up to the 5th dimension and other dimensions in the Theta State of awareness all at the same time.
And then we see, hear, sense, and interact with the spirit world more between the birth and 7 years old than in our entire lives.
So let's go back to the very first one. We hold every belief we've ever had inside of our bodies. Listen, every cell in your body is a universe.
Yeah.
So, and you have gazillions of cells in the body, and every single cell is a universe inside of itself within your physical apparatus, and also your non-physical being, your spirit body, your chakras, and all of that is connected. And every time you say something, it goes into the cells of the body, and the cells act like little universes that are responding to what you say. not with the no, but with, yes, I love you unconditionally. Here's more of what you don't want. But I don't like the traffic on the 405. Well, yes to more traffic on the 405. I said I didn't like assholes on the 405. And it says yes to more traffic on the 405 and yes to assholes. And I'm like, I didn't want that. I don't want that. And it just keeps saying, I love you unconditionally. Here's more. Here's more of what you don't want. But it also works with what you do want.
Well, so basically, the universe is always listening. That's what they always say. That's a very common thing that a lot of metaphysicians say, that the universe is always listening. Well, every cell of your body is always listening to you, right?
And responding.
And responding accordingly to how you feel, how you think. How you feel is the most important one. Okay?
I like it when she says that. Can you feel the little universes in me titillated?
Okay. But yeah, I totally feel it, sister.
So let's go backwards a little bit more.
Yeah.
Remember, your brain is developing between birth and 7 years old. You're developing every aspect about you, and you are mimicking and dadmicking everything in your environment. So if you have a stressed out mom who can't have fun or who can't connect, you're acquiescing to that environment via osmosis. Because remember, as a child, you are picking up her thoughts, feelings, and frequencies. You're picking up her physical actions. You're picking up how she feels when she does the physical actions. You're picking up on the kaleidoscope of emotion she's feeling. Are we going to get through this day? Is my husband going to come in screaming? Is he going to beat the crap out of me? Are we going to have enough money for groceries this week?
All your fears, whether or not they're valid or not, they're going to be felt. So again, that's another important thing. Whether or not they're valid, it may be that you don't have to worry about those things, but yet you still worry.
Yes. And as a child, you don't know not to worry.
Yeah.
And as a child between birth and 7 years old, not only you're not aware of the detriment of what worry does. And if you're acquiescing like I did to a mom who was highly responsible.
Yep.
I knew it.
I knew it.
Hey, baby. Hey. If you acquiesce to a parent's kaleidoscope of emotions, good, bad, or indifferent, you literally start mimicking energetically, vibrationally, just through osmosis. You can't help it. You literally become that which is your environment. Thank you. They also just said, I grew up in the projects, or as Mama said, those were nice places, Edward, where we grew up, because they had just opened.
Yeah.
And so you are picking up simultaneously the other people in your community, in your environment. And you pick up how the adults around you are feeling about each of those components. Thank you. One of the things when we lived in the project was, this is before DUIs. And we had a road, I think it was called Green Street, I don't remember, that was right by where our unit was. And the cars would come flying over the hill and almost sort of like the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
And long story short, someone's inner child is acting out. The cars would come over the hill, and I would always say, Mama, can I play on the front porch? And she's like, no, Edward, the traffic makes me nervous. And it was a distance, but you could hear it. You could hear the bottom of the car hit the road all the time. You know how roads will have divots in them from where cars hit?
Yeah.
And I wanted to play, and I wanted to play, and I wanted to play on the front porch. And Mama said, nope, you can't do it. We had this neighbor, this sweet little old lady, and she would get our mail. She recognized that Mama and us three boys were just trying to survive. This is before she married my stepdad. And she would just do nice little things. Mama would do nice things for her and vice versa. And we liked her. She hadn't been there long. And she went to her front porch to check her mail. And as she turned around, a car came over the hill, a drunk driver, out of control. And it just barreled right and took off the corner of our side of the porch and hit her. and went another 300 feet and hit a tree.
Oh, Lord.
And all of those things are part of the environment.
Sure.
All of the, so if you live in the projects and you're looking at poverty, you're feeling poverty and your parents are trying to survive. When you're from birth to 7 years old, you are a byproduct of that environment. Frequency.
Yeah.
And you have no control over it at that stage of your development because you're still developing.
Sure. Sure.
Number two.
Okay, so we emotionally hold on to unconscious habits of thought that block our dreams. So yes. Yeah, we do. No. Okay, so if you have unconscious habits, if you have no.
Hold on, let me do an interpretive dance of that.
Okay.
That was priceless.
Okay. So yes, if you have okay, if you have thoughts, and Edward,
we emotionally hold on to unconscious habits of thought that block our dreams.
Okay, so so then basically, if you have a decision that you've made about yourself, a statement that you made about yourself, correct? And if you don't know that you're operating with that statement because they're unconscious, then that is operating you. So if you're feeling
not good enough.
Exactly. If you're feeling not good enough, and if you are a product of your environment, but more so that what you think, what you see, what you feel, what you hear, you are a product of that. That is what is operating you. And when you are 7 years and younger, that's all you know how to express.
It is.
Because that's all you know.
And then sometimes that expression gets squelched because you have a parent trying to survive. And you have another parent that if you do express yourself and just be a child and cry or play with the blocks too loudly, and then that parent goes crazy, then you've got one parent doing damage control with the other parent while you're caught in the crossfire of the energetic dynamics that you can't even interpret because you're too young to. So how do you interpret feelings?
I mean, like, as another example, like, let's say, for example, I used to paint a lot when I was very young. Mm-hmm. I would do a lot of painting for the teacher because I was very talented. And they asked us to do paintings for, you know how they do it in the airport?
Yeah.
So I was the one who was selected in our class to do it by myself. So I did the whole thing, the whole mural. And I know my father didn't approve, but my mother loved it. See, so it's like,
wow,
you're getting mixed signals here.
And so not only was she getting mixed signals, how old were you?
Oh, I was 5.
5. Dang, girl. You knew what an airport was when you were 5?
Yeah.
I didn't even know what Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was. I'm impressed. You fancy. So what's happening when you're 5 years old, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, but that's your third eye chakra. So here's the artist using her heaven chakra to be creative and artistic because that's her organic state of beingness. And then she is bookended between a dad who didn't approve of that and a mother who stroked that, and who's now, you have to add in a teacher, mm-hmm. because that teacher is an authority or a parental figure to you when you're not at home. And so you have 3 different programs running simultaneously.
Yeah.
So the feeling child inside of Liz has to try to figure out how to balance all 3 of those sets of frequencies of damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Sure.
So there were 2 people that supported it, female energies.
Yes.
And then there's the male energy that didn't support it.
Absolutely not.
And then so you're walking that fine line, but she's still doing a good kid syndrome thing if you watched our show last week, because she's being seen and not heard.
That's true.
She's also doing something quietly. And so she's getting some accolades from the dad in that way, but then that's still a no-win situation because he can't be pleased.
Yeah.
So we take every bit of that in. And one of the things about art, the reason children love to nap when they're that young, the reason they love to draw and play puzzles and they're grabbing a hold of everything is they are trying to integrate as creative little beings.
Sure.
They're integrating the right hemisphere, which is artistic, creative, intuitive, with the left hemisphere, which is language, mathematics, and logic.
Science.
However, we're not right brain, left brain beings. We're beings of light inside of the physical apparatus that is learning to interpret the world through our solar plexus and our heart chakras. But structured education sets us up to learn everything via memorization and left brain, which cuts off this whole gigantic universe of abilities and talents that you have inside yourself. Now, another thing that happens with what you were just saying with we emotionally hold on to unconscious beliefs is sometimes you haven't cultivated an opinion of yourself yet.
Yeah.
You are receiving that opinion from another authority. One of them, for example, my grandmother would tell one of my brothers that looked the most like my birth dad.
Yeah.
You look just like your dad. You're not going to amount to anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
And the other one that didn't look like my dad, I look like my mama, honey, okay?
Okay.
But then she would look at the other one that didn't look anything like my birth dad or his birth dad either. And then she would say, you act just like your dad.
Oh,
and everybody hated my dad. Yeah. So one, you look just like your dad. And the other one is you act like your dad. And then there was the black sheep of the family.
You look like your mom.
I look like my mom and I work like my mom. But guess out of all 13 of her children, which one of her children left when she turned 15 and got pregnant and got married?
Your mom.
Got married, then got pregnant. I'm sorry, that's the order. My mama. So who did I remind my grandmother of?
Your mother.
And so who could never win with her mother?
Your mom.
And who could never win with his grandmother?
Your mom.
And who was psychic as a little girl?
Your mom.
Who was psychic as a little girl?
Your mom.
And my grandmother's psychic.
Oh, so yeah. Mama usually it's passed down
3 generations.
Yeah.
And so I could see through grandma's stuff, but I didn't have the power to say anything about it.
Yeah.
Mama could see through it, and she spoke up twice and almost died. So isn't that fascinating? So sometimes we will carry the voice in our head that somebody else put in there.
Yeah.
You'll never amount to anything. So
sure.
It's living and breathing consciousness within yourself. Child, ain't you glad you tuned in? Don't you feel all happy and excited right now? Not depressed, not sad at all. But guess what? We're going to turn that shit around. Okay. So if you're just tuning in, you're watching Coming Out with Liz and Eddie. I'm Liz Lyug.
And I'm Eddie Connor.
And this title is 7 and Under Emotion Belief Inventory. We're talking about how you as a child unconsciously and consciously, mostly subconsciously, started developing belief systems and patterns that you carry to this day that you might not be aware of. And what Liz and I are wanting to bring to the table is this expanded awareness so you can become aware of it and then step into a new program with it. And number 3 of our top 4 things is we live between worlds for the first 7 years of our lives. And we talked about this at the top with the Theta State. So I love babies. There's one here every time I come here, and it's fun to watch them interpret spirit. It's fun to watch them look at the energy around people, plants, animals, cats. It's just fun to watch them. And then when you still yourself enough, you can feel them feel and become their own personalities.
Absolutely. They even like, you'll watch the babies. Sometimes my grandson will just look at something and he'll look at me and he'll just point somewhere. And I'm looking and going like, what are you seeing, Apollo? What are you seeing? You know?
Wouldn't it be fun
if he seeing that I don't see?
Wouldn't it be fun if he said, a demon? Just to mess with grandma.
But yeah, that's like in that we talked about the being in a theta state is the meditative state. So, I think that another show we're going to do is beyond meditation.
Oh.
Down the road.
Not beyond beef, but beyond meditation.
Beyond meditation. But I remember when I first started to learn to meditate and I had to clear my mind. It was like clearing the garbage away. You had to just clear the space. And that's the space that we're talking about that Eddie speaks about.
Yeah, am not good at that to this day. Yet I do meditate every day, and sometimes I fall asleep. Don't judge me, people. And I do guided meditations.
Oh, yeah.
And like if I walk around the neighborhood, I'm doing active meditations.
Yes.
And I'm locking on to things to connect with, both spiritually speaking and physically speaking, so that I integrate and keep upgrading my existing program.
Well, you know, my teacher, I always talk about her, Fatima Abate. She would say that living is your meditation. Living and breathing in life, that is your meditation.
Wow.
You know.
Child, she disciplined.
She is. She's amazing. But, I would say that walking around, conscious meditation, I mean, there's so many books on it. There's so many, videos about meditating. But it's really, if you've never tried meditation before, it is, for me, an amazing state of peace. And we'll talk about this later on. Okay, so no, the next one we see, we hear, we sense, and we interact with the spirit world between birth and 7 years old more than in our entire lives. Okay, you want to extrapolate on that?
Yeah, from birth to 7, because we're living in the Theta State, that conscious meditative state, we will see, hear, sense, and receive things. Listen, I was a super psychic Gaby, because I would see all of these things. I would see dead people. I would see beings just walk through the room. I can't even tell you the things that I saw whenever I was under 7 years old, because there was no veil for me then. But when I got to 7, 8, and 9 years old, especially 10 years old, is when my twin sister in spirit stopped coming and hanging out with me. And that turned out to be the night my baby brother was born.
Oh, interesting.
And I thought she was coming back from nonphysical as a baby sister. And that ain't the way it happened. But when you're birthed to 7 years old, you are walking between worlds. You are literally living, thinking, seeing, breathing between worlds. Now, what I created here for us is something I started to pay close attention to, again, from doing readings for 30 years, that there is a direct correlation to things that happen to us from birth to 7 years old. It's tied into chakras, and if you don't resolve it, you will continue to keep bringing you will live the pattern with different characters.
Yeah.
You know those people who like to be in relationships? It's like, I've been in 364 relationships, and they all been assholes. Well, what's the common denominator, dummy?
Hello? How long is it going to take you to figure out what's going on?
So they'll exit this pattern and pull a new person to live the same pattern, a third person to live the same pattern, a 23rd person to live the same pattern, until they rise above it. And guess where those patterns are born? Birth to 7 years old.
Well, again, it's like I talked about with you, I think it was a few weeks ago, we talked about life is on a spiral. So you keep revisiting that old energy that had defeated you in the past, and you're given an opportunity to change it, to look at it, acknowledge it, and then change that and move on to the next level. And so to me, that's what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. And so from birth to 1 year old, and this really starts in utero, by the way, but especially from birth, the day you're born, until your first birthday, you live in the root chakra primarily. Yes, you have all 7 of you shiny, bright, little titillating chakras, but you are primarily functioning in the root chakra. And tell them what the root chakra is, Liz.
It has to do with the color red. Mm-hmm. It represents itself in the color red. And remember, your chakras are like cones. They go from the front through your body and out the back as a cone.
And go ahead.
As a cone. A cone. Anyway, Kundalini energy has to do with instinct, survival, and so your security.
And what are babies doing? When a baby's hungry, what do they do? Asking the parents.
We're asking the parent out there.
Okay, that's hysterical. So when a baby's
they cry.
hungry,
They cry.
What do they do when they're restless?
They move around.
What do they do when they need something but they can't communicate it?
Oh, they just cry.
What happens when they're constipated?
Oh, not our baby, but I mean, I don't know. Cry. I guess cry. Yeah.
So your whole life is contingent on either one or two people.
Yeah.
And primarily the authority figures. And
in your life,
the very first year of your life from birth to 1 year old, your soul, SOUL, purpose is to survive. So you're again, the brain's not developed yet, but you are already intuitively picking up things. Listen, I did a reading for someone a long time ago, and in the reading, they were so poor. And the thing that came up in the reading over and over and over, because she had a pattern she wanted to break, she said, what's the origin of the pattern? And then we went in, and the origin of the pattern was that her mom was a single mom, and her mother came from a household where the parents said, you made your bed, lie in it.
Yeah.
You can't come back home. Don't call us for help.
Yeah.
And so the mother's on her own with a baby, already poor.
Yeah.
And now has to support the baby and herself, but with nobody there to help her with the baby.
To help her with the baby. That's rough.
The mother would cry all the time quietly.
Oh, Lord.
But she was crying because she felt so bad for the baby. The baby interpreted that energy as my mom feels bad because of me.
Of course.
And so the mother, when she didn't have money for baby food, the mother cried. And whenever the mother, it was so sad. And so the little girl, from the time she was literally before she was 1 year old, she learned never to
cry. Oh, Lord.
So when you're hungry, you cry. It's your only form of any kind of physical communication.
But you learn not to create that energy. You learn not to cry because then you put more demands on your parents.
And you're distressing your point of survival.
That's right.
And so she did not consciously know any of this. And then there were things that came through in the reading. Then she goes back and tells the mom, asks the mom some questions. She's like, oh my God, how do you know that?
Oh, wow.
Because for the first 4 years of their life, that's the pattern that was going on.
Oh, wow.
And so long story short, from birth to 1 year old, you're primarily in the root chakra. And that's kind of the essence of what you're dealing with: Kundalini energy, instinct, survival, and security. Well, the day you turn 1 year old, from 1 year old to 2 year old, you go up to the sacral chakra, which is orange. The chakras are also called wheels of light. And tell them what the sacral chakra is about.
Well, I just want to add one more thing to the root chakra.
Yeah.
It also has to do with your survival and related to money. If you feel you have a lot of money issues, if you feel you have a lot of, you're not able to support yourself monetarily, you'll create back pain, lower back pain. And
ankles, knees, back, neck, and shoulders, because those are the things that support your physical apparatus.
But and they mainly your back, I think. And then in the sacral, which is the orange, your sexual organ, is the emotions. That's your seat of your creativity. Sexual. And your emotions, yeah.
And then when you turn 2 years old, so from 2 to 3 years old, you move up to the next chakra, which is the solar plexus. And it's yellow and
that's power, your power center, your control, your freedom to be yourself. But this is really critical how they, people talk about, you have to have a strong core. You have to exercise, have a strong core, have a strong, more than that, emotionally, you have to have a strong power center. If you feel helpless, hopeless, it's very difficult.
Yep. And then from when you turn 3, you move up to the next chakra, which is the heart chakra. So from 3 to 4 is the first time in your life you live in the heart chakra. The thing I love about the heart chakra, it's not of the heavens, it's not of the earth, but it is the only chakra that marries your top heaven chakras and your bottom earth chakras together as one.
Yeah. And this one's love, balance, and compassion. And this is the color of green.
And when you turn 4 years old, you go up to the throat chakra. From 4 to 5 is the first time you live primarily in the throat chakra, which is about
speech and self-expression. And also what's really important, this one is about manifestation. This is really important here to have a clear throat chakra.
Yep. When you turn 5, from 5 to 6 years old, you move up to the third eye chakra, which is an indigo color, and it represents
psychic abilities.
What'd you call me?
Psychic abilities, imagination, clairvoyance. Yeah.
And then when you turn 6, from 6 to 7 years old, you're up here in your crown chakra, which is white, and it represents?
That's your connection to the divine. Knowing, bliss, oneness. Also, for some people, the color of violet also can be the crown chakra.
Mm-hmm. So a quick breakdown. Reader's Digest condensed version. Are you ready?
Okay.
So welcome to Liz and Eddie. I'm Eddie Connor.
And I'm Liz Lyuk.
And we're talking about the 7 and under emotional belief inventory. And if you're just tuning in, we're going to give you a quick Reader's Digest bullet point version of the chakra chart from the day you're born up to the day you turn 7. So from 0 to 1 years old, you're in the root chakra, which is the color
red.
From 1 to 2 years old, you're in the sacral chakra, which is the color
orange.
From 2 to 3 years old, you're in the solar plexus chakra,
which is yellow.
And then from 3 to 4 years old, you're in the heart chakra,
which is green.
From 4 to 5 years old, you're in the throat chakra,
which is blue.
And from 5 to 6 years old, you're in the third eye chakra,
which is the indigo.
And from 6 to 7, you're in the crown chakra,
which is either white or violet.
So what happens when you turn 7? You go back to the root chakra and you start the spiral all over again. That's why a lot of astrologers will talk about 7-year cycles.
Oh, interesting.
And so for me, whenever I was 3 to 4 years old, I was cognizant of, I would pray for my dad to, sounds awful. Remember, I'm a little kid. I didn't know any better. I would pray for my dad to die.
Of course.
Because I didn't know, there was no other way in my little tiny kid brain that my mom was going to survive.
Plus he was beating the living daylights out of you and her.
All of us, all the time. And so I would pray and pray and pray that he would die. Now, what happened when the first year I lived in my heart chakra, when I turned 3 years old, between 3 and 4, what happened?
What happened?
He got locked up.
Oh, interesting. He went away.
He went to prison.
So he went away. So
he went away.
That's almost like dying.
Yes, and he never came back.
Okay.
And so what happened whenever I was 10 to 11 years old?
Okay. Again, that's heart.
It's the heart chakra. We're going to break this down for you, child.
Okay.
And so from 10 to 11, that's when my mom got tuberculosis and then came to elementary school and got all of us out of school to tell us that she was going to a sanitarium for tuberculosis and we didn't see her for 3 months.
Yeah.
So that broke my heart.
Yeah, that's your heart chakra.
Mm-hmm. And then whenever I was 17 years old, ask me what happened, Liz.
What happened, Eddie?
Mom left the relationship she was in and then met the guy I think of as my real dad.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's a happy thing. But everything that happens from birth to 7 years old, whatever the most traumatic and whatever the most exciting things are, you will repeat those patterns if you don't change your subconscious programming.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So now, do you have any questions?
Yeah, okay. I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. So for me, we were discussing this earlier. When I was, I want to say, first birth to 7, what happened?
So here's an example. From birth to 7 years old, and it doesn't have to be traumatic. Remember, it's the high points and the low points.
Yeah.
So can you think of anything fantastic that sticks out? I know one thing fantastic that happened to my friend Liz. She's a petite flower princess giver, goddess, little intuitive artist when she was 5 years old. Okay, honey. They wanted to put her art in the airport where she lived.
They did.
So you were 5 years old.
Yes.
And so look at you living in your third eye when you were 5 years old, creating something for the whole world to see. So that was a good thing that happened.
Okay.
Now, tell me something bad that happened. Tell me something bad that happened.
When I was, I would say when I was 16, my father passed away.
Ooh, okay.
He died immediately.
Like just out of nowhere.
Yes.
So when she was 16, she was in the solar plexus chakra. So here's how it works. From birth to 1, root chakra. From 1 to 2, sacral. 2 to 3, solar plexus. 3 to 4, heart. 4 to 5, throat. 5 to 6, third eye. 6 to 7, the crown chakra. Then what happens? You start the 7-year cycle all over again. So from 7 to 8, root chakra. Yeah. 8 to 9, and that's how you do the math on it. And so when you were 16, your dad passed away. So how did that affect you? What happened next in your life when your dad suddenly died?
Oh, then I stopped writing and painting.
Because?
Well, because now I am now responsible.
The adult child.
Exactly.
And you have to contribute and make up for that.
Yeah.
I hate to say void, but that vacancy.
Yeah.
Because anytime something is taken away, that space gets filled with other energy.
Absolutely.
Okay. How old were you when you met your husband?
When I met my husband?
Mm-hmm.
I was 19.
How old were you when you had your baby?
I was 21.
Oh, you started a brand new 7-year chakra. When did you move? When was the next major move after your father died? Where did you move to?
I moved to, I went to college, and then I went to...
How old were you when you went to college?
I was 17.
Mm-hmm. You back up in your heart chakra, child.
And then...
wow.
I'm just trying
So your dad passed away in your self-esteem, self-confidence chakra. Yeah. And then 17 to 18, you went off to college.
Yeah.
Those are two giant shocks.
Yeah.
And so...
Okay, so then at...
And then you met JJ when you were 19.
Oh, no, I was 17. Okay.
Girl, I feel a book.
At 17, I was introduced. I was still in high school, and I was introduced to him by a friend.
Okay.
We did not have a relationship.
Okay.
We were just friends.
And then Vanessa comes around at 21 years old?
Yes.
Perfect. And so what if you go and do the math, the energetic math of the big things that happened when you were under 7, no more than 10 years old, you will start to notice an absolute pattern. The kind of people you attract, whatever your internal conscious and subconscious belief system is, you will only attract people, places, circumstances, and situations that match those things. The first handful of real relationships I attracted were all my dad and my stepdad.
Yeah.
And sometimes they were that I heard this, and Mama's gonna whip my ass, I can tell it. But there's two things that happened. I saw the movie Ordinary People.
Oh yeah.
With Mary Tyler Moore and Donald Sutherland.
That was a hard
and
movie.
Timothy. And I was sitting in the theater and I went, that's the first time I'd ever seen my mom. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's my mom. Yeah. And she was shut down and she was just, you could tell it was my mom. And then whenever I heard that Prince song, maybe I'm just like my mother, she's never satisfied.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It wasn't that my mother was never satisfied. It was that she was so locked up. Yeah. Because she was just trying to survive. And she cut off all of her sparkle to feed and clothe 4 boys and raise them. Absolutely. So it's like, I know it now as an adult, but I didn't know it between birth and 7 years old.
How would you know?
Look at us piggybacking our other show, The Good Kid Syndrome, here with our 7 and under emotional belief. Listen, the next show next week is going to be about self-sabotage. Tune in.
Okay, tune in because we know about that.
Okay, so what's your favorite part of the show today?
My favorite part of the show was...
my blouse.
I do like the Swiss dots.
You do like
they
the
are
Swiss
lovely with your eyes. But no, my favorite part of the show was the chart that you created. I like it. I like that. And the fact that you can discover your own pattern if you are truthful to yourself and you examine yourself. So that's very interesting.
Listen, last week, Liz was talking about in the Healing the Good Kid Syndrome in that podcast that you have to be aware before you can change anything. You can't fix a problem you're not cognizant of or consciously aware of. So she said that when you have the aha moment of the problem, which takes you to the awareness of the problem, then you can aspire to create the solution. And this is just a continuum and a perpetuation of that awareness. Don't you think?
Yeah. What was your favorite part of the show, Eddie?
My favorite part of the show was last week whenever Liz was talking about how as a good kid, she would hide her daddy's belt. I am still stimulated and titillated from last week.
Not thinking that there was another belt available.
She's pretty. So, no, my favorite part of the show is I so am in love with the spiritual centers, the birth and 7-year program, becoming aware of what you need to be aware of, because even if you don't know it, you know something's off. You know something doesn't feel right. You know you keep dating the same people. You know you keep attracting the same bosses. You know you keep attracting the same casting directors. You know you keep attracting the same kind of neighbors.
And you keep attracting the same problems, but on a different level.
Yeah.
They're the same thing. Different players, different people. They're the same thing. Same problem.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for joining us. I'm Eddie Connor.
And I'm Liz Lyu.
You've been watching Coming Out with Liz and Eddie. This show was 7 and under emotional belief inventory. And until we see you next week, please remember to keep your thoughts, your feelings, and your inner child high, fast, and pure so that you can unlock the universe within. Okay.
Thanks.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.